Good day. Welcome to the Africans in America podcast. With me is Woriche.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Woriche. We had an interesting event this past week.
Mhm.
South African President Ramaphosa visited the White House.
Yes,
He had an interesting encounter in the White House.
correct.
Since coming into office, President Trump has said, and he has asserted, that there's a genocide going on against white people in South Africa. He
Hmm.
claims that the South African government is hostile towards white farmers, particularly, and has instituted policies that has disenfranchised the white farmers. He even says there's killings of the white farmers and confronted President Ramaphosa with a video there. But even before then, he had instituted a new policy where he has given
Hmm.
refugee status to South African white farmers, particularly the Africans, that they can
Hmm.
come to America and transfer to America as asylum, as refugees and escaping persecution of war.
Hmm.
This led recently to 49, I think 49 South Africans were received in America here, the first batch of the white
Hmm.
farmers to take advantage of that policy. And they were welcomed and received wholeheartedly by Trump administration officials. But
Correct.
let us see this ambushing of President
Ramaphosa.
Ramaphosa in
Hmm.
the White House, and by President Trump when he brought about, he accused him of killing South African farmers and showed him a video of graves, crosses. It said for South African. Each particular cross was that of a South African farmer that had been killed. That video has been making the rounds for a long time now in social media, and it hasn't really been proven to be that. So many people have opinions as to what that video really is. So,
Hmm.
Weriche, what do you think? Do you think Donald Trump treated Ramaphosa well when he, as the media has said, ambushed him when he came to visit him in the White House?
No, of course not. He did. That was a very manipulative move. You have to understand that Donald Trump is a businessman and he has all these tactics that he uses to sort of disarm when he's in negotiation settings. And so he kind of uses that same strategy when he's as president now. Maybe in his mind he thinks it works. Maybe the right think it works, but the truth is sensationalism has always has always presented a sort of gotcha, gotcha approach to situations, which quite frankly is very is not the best. So no, the way he presented that was sort of to diminish the president, to diminish South Africa, to strengthen their argument about white South Africans being the oppressed. And it's very interesting that this narrative of white South Africans being the oppressed is a response, right? It's very interesting that it is their response to um apartheid and the victimization of blacks for I think it was centuries, really, right? The taking of their land, the sort of you know how you have a caste system in India. In this case, it wasn't a caste system. It was sort of like what took place in America. It was sort of like the segregation of blacks on their own land. Now in America, obviously, it was not, a black land, but it was more like presenting blacks as being less than, right? Stifling them of opportunities, causing them to not have what they need to advance. And so that same strategy, which has been seen, across the board when you talk about nations and sects in nations that dominate, it seemed to be what was going on. And now it's interesting to watch the narrative or the response that they are now the victimized, as opposed to this being a response to years of victimization. It's like saying that Blacks in America who are requesting for reparations are now victimizing either the white Americans or Americans, but it's as a response to what has already taken place. And so him just presenting the video was a weak gotcha sensationalized tactic, but it's typical of Donald Trump. I mean, this is how he operates. He's not one to listen to the details or the facts. He's one to maybe hit you where it hurts, get blindside you, and it's quite frankly the way he's done business for many years. We have to always remember this is a businessman. Yes, he's been president before. I don't consider him a real politician. And so those tactics are tactics that have worked in his negotiation history. And he probably thinks that it's the best way to approach the president. And you could see that the president was taken aback because he came to sort of change the narrative. When you have 49 farmers claiming to be scared for their lives, right? Arrive in America claiming that, oh, they want refugee status simply because they think that their land is either being taken from them or they feel like they're being victimized, they're scared for their lives. It begins to belittle this refugee immigration as a whole. And I always remember he's targeted immigration since even his first term, and it's very interesting that he would, on the one hand, kick out the Latinos, right? Constantly have them be deported, but then be happy to bring in the white South Africans and in a speedy manner. You have to always check the process that refugees go through. The process is like a gruesome process that goes on for years, and then they're vetted before they're brought to America. And then when they're brought to America, even them being introduced into the system is also another process. But he just like that just brings in, so it's the abuse of
He
power.
expedited theirs.
He expedited this as abuse of power very clearly, and it's just racism. Let's call it what it is. It's racism. So his response to Ramaphosa was never going to be civil. It was always going to, present him in a position where he's always the dominant party. He's the one better than this person, and so he has to sort of put him down and disarm him so that negotiation deals will favor the United States and not South Africa. So sensationalism has been his thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
it's ironic. It's the first president from Africa to come visit the Trump administration. In the last, when he was the 45th president, he had a summit. It wasn't really a summit, but he took advantage of a conference and he had a number of African presidents. Then he didn't have a very good relationship with them, many of African states. I
mhm.
know. So this one was really we feel it's a missed opportunity. But Ramaphosa has been praised repeatedly from that action. For he was
Mhm.
calm, he was composed. He said he didn't even know about the video, and he has been praised for his cool, keeping his cool in the face of that ambush. So that brings us into the thing now. Do you think it's worth Ramaphosa's time to come and trying to convince Donald Trump? Because let's not forget, there's a lot at stake here. America is the second
Well,
largest trading
again,
partner of South Africa. Their trade is between them is $20 billion, and South Africa enjoys the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act opportunities that are available there. So they get really low interest rates into America. But the way it is now, do you think, looking at Donald Trump and looking at the fact that he seems quite convinced, about what he's doing. Do you think it is worth the Ramaphosa's time to continue to try and change Trump's mind?
Well, I don't know about it, him trying to change Trump's mind, but the fact that he made the visit, when you talk about diplomatic relations, I think that the psychology factor shows that Ramaphosa, one, is cares about his country, cares about his relations with the United States, demonstrates his interest in brokering this peace or negotiation deals, etc. And so even if it doesn't come to anything, I mean, how long does Trump still have? 3.5 years? Even if it doesn't come to anything within the next 3.5 years, 4 years, he has demonstrated the interest in beginning civil conversations and trying to right the wrongs and trying to clear the air, and trying to establish that indeed we want to work with you. That's big in diplomatic relations. It's sort of like an act that cannot be erased, right? And that's why when we go back to Trump and his decorum and his inability, right, to be civil, it ties into the fact that this is history. This is always going to be presented down the line for many years, even when Trump is no longer president. They're always going to remember how Trump received him by doing a gotcha and showing that type of video. And so again, it goes beyond, are they going to, is it important for him to keep the conversation going? No, it's always going to be important, even if the conversation has to take a break for a couple of years, if it does need to. It's okay, but he has demonstrated, which is key. And whenever you present a situation like that, right, it shows who the boss is, really. It shows who the sensible party is. And it's not never a loss. It doesn't always have to result in the final act or you know what I mean, getting what it is he's proposing. But the act of showing up is shows that he's ready and to do the work with Trump. And if Trump kicks and screams like the baby he is, it is what it is. And we all know it's all going to play out for us to know who stopped the deals or whatever from going forward. So is it sensible for him to keep doing that? Yes, if there's an opportunity again for him to engage in talks, I would say yes, keep doing it. But it's as a way to demonstrate who the part, the non-cooperative party. And in diplomatic relations, it's key. You want to
Okay.
show documents of who's sensible and who isn't.
Ramaphosa came in with a number of white South Africans.
I
No
saw them,
less.
yeah.
He came with the richest man in South Africa and a number of sports, South African golfing legends
Hmm.
and unfortunately, it's so sad to see that all the animals between Trump and South Africa is supported by the actions, tweets, and complaints of Elon Musk, a South African-born businessman. And he may be saying that he's helping the whites there in South Africa, but there's been a lot of pushback by the Afrikaans community against it. But Elon Musk is doubling down and is the main backbone supporting Trump's action. It's so ironical that an African-born person, the richest man, and one who we all look up to, will be the one doing such harm to a country of his birth. He says that Starlink was not given a license in South Africa, and that's because he's black. He flipped the race
You
card
mean
of
that's because he's
of
white?
South Africa because he's white. If he was black, he would have been given the Starlink license. What do with all these things Elon Musk
Hmm.
is purportedly doing or doing? Do you think is
Hmm.
a benefit to Africa in any form or manner?
I mean, Elon is going to do what Elon's going to do for his own reason, right? He's always pushed the narrative that white men are being discriminated against, and so his actions will always tally with that statement that white men are being discriminated against, and that I mean, now that he has a voice, quote unquote, he will do everything he has to do. So, is it going to benefit Africa? We'll see. I mean, I never see any talks as being any focus on a particular region as being bad. what people could perceive as being negative conversation is never negative because it opens up avenues for further discussions, right? And so what he's doing with focusing on the white South Africans, I mean, some people could argue and say, okay, he's doing his part as a white South African to express their own, maybe their own whatever they have up, in opposition to what's going on and all that. It's understandable. We have to play devil's advocate at some point. He's speaking for the people that are his people. Now, how is Africa going to benefit? Africa is benefiting because it's in the limelight. It's in the you understand when the spotlight is on you, right? It might not be comfortable, but the truth is, out of 10 things that are going to be discussed, right? Trust me, two are going to be addressed in your favor somewhat based on subsequent conversations. And so I think that it's necessary that these talks continue. I think that what seems like a negative focus coming from him is not a negative focus. It's going to down the road create further avenues for conversations. Look at immigration. I mean, Trump has done a lot of nonsense with immigration.
Mhm.
And again, we're here talking about South Africa. Look at what's happening in Harvard with the international students and all that. So my point is that somewhere along the line, there's going to be the focus on Africa is only empowering Africa, if you ask me. It's never a bad thing. Look at every day there's a revolution going on, Ivory Coast the other day, because there's this empowerment that is coming from even what has been taking place in Burkina Faso. There's how do I say, Africa is becoming more emboldened and more how do I say, more confident. The groups in Africa are becoming more confident to speak up. And so whatever Donald Trump and Elon are doing, I don't I at the end of the day, they're only putting the focus on Africa. The spotlight is on Africa, and we're fixing things and we're airing our views and we're ensuring that things are going to work in our favor. So whether he brings the 49 farmers, in fact, the 49 farmers, so I listened to someone's message where they said, you see the 49 farmers, if they're really true, where are their 49 pieces of land? Where is it? Because we've not claimed it back. I think that was Julius, what's his name, saying
Malema.
that where is it? If indeed they're suffering, that there's no such thing as suffering. There's nobody trying to kill white South Africans. That's not possible. It's not going to happen. And so that narrative is being debunked, and so those conversations are relevant. That's how I look at it. And
Yeah,
these are residues of a period of tension. Apartheid was one of the most horrible, just akin to slavery, right? And colonization. Apartheid was another one of those degrading times of in Africa. And so somehow these are resentments that have festered. And so having these conversations will completely allow us to move forward. So it's okay. It's like a kink. Get it, like
yeah.
work it out to get it out. So yeah,
Unfortunately, there's crime, a lot of crime in South Africa because there's a lot of
indeed.
youth unemployment, and that crime affects.
Correct.
What Ramaphosa was trying to argue is that there's crime that is affecting more the blacks than even the whites.
Of
Statistics even
course.
showed that there's a disproportionate impact of crime in South Africa against the blacks. But for me, the way I
Mm,
look at it is that in showing antagonism against a very powerful member of of the African community like South Africa, who is a founding member of BRICS and who is also the chairman of the G20, and who is planning on hosting a G20 summit in South Africa this later this year. I think it signals to Africa that Trump may not be a friend of Africa. At a time like this now, when Africa
of course.
is consolidating its relationships with China and is embracing Russia more, this seems to be a move that is pushing away America because it's a very hard move. It's one that every other African leader will be seeing, and every African leader will be wondering what will happen to them if ever they get invited to the White House. As it
Yeah.
stands now, anybody going to the White House goes at his own risk because we shouldn't forget what happened to Zelensky and what happened to Kani and what happened to quite a number of other leaders there
Me
too.
and you having this conversation are at risk for even opposing him because he's trying to find reasons to deport immigrants. Look at what he's doing in Harvard. That just took place today.
Yeah, the
He's
Harvard
trying
is
to
Lisa.
stifle. He's very intimidated by Harvard's. Okay, so let me put it this way. So, Africans, most African students, international students, not just African students, most international students pay their tuition out of pocket, right? Most of them, they don't come here looking for aid and all of that. A great percentage of them add to Harvard's revenue. And so him targeting the immigrants, the international students, is as a way to stifle Harvard because he thinks that by hitting their pockets, he's going to be able to stop them from being vocal about whatever position they hold. So it is these manipulative ploys that he devises, very demonic, manipulative ploys to stop what has been. How do you go into the education system and you dismantle and you try to remove the voice of the people, right? We are allowed to oppose. I'm sorry. We can oppose whatever is going. Freedom of speech is okay. Harvard being an institution that allows for people to have these intelligent conversations, that is the zone. That is where we are able to think and everybody takes a stand. If the stand is taken for Israel, fine. If it's taken against Israel, fine. There are no hard and fast rules when it comes to education. Or you can clearly see, right, that he has no respect for the education system. And so now he's going to attack the international students who bring in diversity in an education system or even in a country. We need different views. We're not
Mm.
zombies. We're not supposed to be thinking all alike. And
It's
so
you.
when he goes to the international to that community and tries to stifle and give them like all these stringent, immediate rules and say, "Oh, you have to leave," and then the graduation is next week, so they have to leave today. I mean, we're going to, Harvard is going to oppose it and is going to like, sue him and take it to court, but it's the inconvenience. And it just tells you my resentment for anybody who cast their vote for this person to be in office. Told you I don't want to trigger the political part of me. I have been maintaining this. But
No, no,
Africans,
I feel it's a bad move in the sense that we shouldn't forget if you live in America, you will know how much healthcare, finance, and education plays. If you live particularly in New York, where I used to live, half of the buildings in Manhattan are owned by universities. University has a significant part to play in education has a high part to play in American
Mhm.
education in the services sector, and they bring in quite a lot of money, international students. But politicians have chased away one of the biggest source of international students, and that's the Chinese. So now they are looking up to Nigerians and Indians and some other people to make up the numbers. But now, when you start shutting out access to Harvard and shut out access to Columbia and all that because they are they are creating an environment where First Amendment rights is being allowed to be expressed against a powerful lobbyist like the Israeli lobby, then it becomes a problem, and that simply means many people will now be looking to Chinese schools, because let's
I
not
want to
forget
write Jonathan.
the Chinese schools have moved up the ranking and are now they are among the most highly ranked schools in the world now. Besides that, the Chinese
Yes.
economy is more accessible to a lot of other people. You learn things like cutting edge things that you can take back home to your country and be useful to you. That's not to say you can't take back a lot from America, but yes, when you come to America, you almost are not going back to your country. But if you go to Ukraine to school, as we used to do, a lot of Africans used to do, you go to Russia, you go to Romania, you go to China, you
Mhm.
take your skill sets and go back to your country. But when you come to America and if you manage to put yourself through school, a nuclear plant might want you, a finance company might want you, and because most times the burden is borne by the African parents, the parents of the Chinese, the parents of, like we said. But here in America, if you want to get that kind of education, you know the cost of it. And many, without
It's
scholarships, it's
targeting
almost impossible.
Harvard's revenue. It's
Mm-hmm.
targeting Harvard's revenue. It's a plot. It's a plot at, a ploy to ensure that Harvard doesn't have the strength. But I mean, he's messing with one of the oldest college in America. He's messing with them. It's not going to go down well for him.
Yeah,
I'm so
but
sorry.
it sends a wrong signal now. It says international students, we
Yes,
don't want you.
sends
Because
a wrong
even in
signal.
even in arresting the Turkish students, the people, all the people who are advocating for to free Palestine, or who are advocating for things
Hmm.
to be for some form of accountability in Gaza,
Hmm.
it's what is going on in the world now. It's not only in America. The whole world is seeing what's going on there now. And no matter how you try to
It's
stifle it,
embarrassing.
let's not forget that Donald Trump is a product of an attempt to stifle his own voice. He survived it, he came out of it, and he's strong now. And I don't think people tried to stifle the Americans when they were protesting against the Vietnamese war, the war in Vietnam. And how did that end up? People complained about the recklessness of the Iraq war. How did that
Hmm.
end up? People will
So I want to
always
say
listen.
something about the
Mm.
support that the right supports Donald Trump. You're one of them. Where you support Donald Trump, you understand certain positions he holds, etc. What we're trying to say here now is as Democrats, it's not that we can't listen to the right or have another Republican be in office, etc. This person, right, has a history of approaching issues in this manner that we're speaking of, that's disruptive. And so when I look at people who still talk about supporting Donald Trump, even today when they too are being affected in different ways, name it, it has been nonstop since January. It's been barely 3 months this man has been in office, and we have constantly had to navigate. He's disrupting people's lives. At this point, I'm wondering, why would anybody support him? What is the sense behind it? This is
Uh,
not a question of making America great again. This is a question of being disruptive and affecting people in a negative way. It is not constitutional to have this level of disruption in
well,
a country within the time frame that we have or we've had. And so I still do not, I never voted for him, never will ever vote for a person that doesn't process like him. And I'm so upset. This Harvard thing is triggering me to no end.
yeah, but
And
unfortunately, like I said, the Democrats created Donald Trump. The actions of the
we
Democrats.
did not create
We're
Donald
even
Trump.
learning
In
we're
what
even
manner did
learning
we
now that
create Donald Trump?
yes, the president wasn't even the one running the country. There's so much that was
What are
done
you saying?
that
You're
went.
learning from who? That the President Biden was not the one running the
Oh,
house.
no, no,
You
no,
heard from
that's
who?
all over the news now. That one is new because he lost cognitive
No, it is
ability and his
propaganda
doctors are.
from the right. We do
No,
not
no,
approve
no,
of
no.
Donald
These are
Trump.
these are these are revelations coming out in books, coming out by proclamations by
It does not make sense. There's no sense to it.
that,
This is the right
like I
propaganda that
said, my
he's,
argument has
he's a
always
cancer
been.
to people. He's a cancer to the world. Donald Trump, his administration before and this time around, and I'm saying it to you, Donald Trump. If this video circles and you hear it, I'm telling you, my name is Weruche Uzoka. You are a cancer to America. You are a cancer to people. So I just don't approve of you. And
Yeah,
it's my
yes, yes.
constitutional right not to approve of you.
Let's keep it down. The truth is that Donald Trump excites
If you like,
sentiments
just it
everywhere.
as it is.
Yeah,
I'm not
but
afraid. He has
um
destroyed America
no,
and the world.
presidents will do their own and in their own understanding. That's why he was voted. He was voted and he will be allowed to run his mandate. That's what
The
the
point is that who are we voting in? It's not a question of whether he was voted or not. What has he done so far? What
well,
has he done for
he's
America?
he's doing according to his conviction. Those are the things that he believes he was voted for. It was voted.
I
It was
apologize for my decorum
no, no,
because
no.
it's only Donald
But,
Trump that can
yeah,
get
but
me
you
this
won't be. You
upset
won't. There's nothing
and
you
out
say
of
that will be. There
character.
will be nothing you say that is more virulent than what has been said on the View, on so many, on CNBC, on
I'm sorry,
CNN.
I lost
There's a
my
lot of
mask fell
there's a
off.
lot of vitriol against Donald Trump. Donald Trump evokes that. It doesn't change anything about it. But
I
he
hear
believes
you.
that he was voted on certain policies that he campaigned on. Among them is this one
It's
now,
horrible,
but
whatever policies he campaigned on.
some of them are things that call for greater scrutiny. Some of his actions, the way America is set up, is being challenged, and he's not having his way on all things. But going back to
Do you
our
still
talk
approve
about
of him after everything
Africa and
he's
Donald,
doing?
huh?
I want you to make a statement. Do you still approve of him with all these things that have happened since
Oh
January?
no, no. See, me, a political analyst. I analyzed that from what I was seeing, he would win the election. That was what I said. I didn't say that he will be a good president or a bad president. That is not what I said, and that I said from what I saw and what I was seeing the Democrats do, and they were in a state of denial that he will win. They were lying to themselves. They were creating polls, and bringing out figures, and all in the New York and Washington media. But we who live in the who interact with people on the streets and who go to cities in like Marble Springs and Bonnet, and go to all those inner places, them like Spring, Texas, we knew who would win. Maybe Texas is red, but even the facts showed that even in New York and California, go out of the big cities, the man won 85%
I don't.
of the counties in America. Counties. That's a very
Let's not
powerful
advocate for
statement.
him. It does not mean anything. It
Yeah,
was
so as a
rigged,
political
if you ask
analyst, I
me.
was saying that he will win. I did not say at any time that he will be a good president or a bad president. That's left to history. He is interpreting his own. It's almost like a director or a movie producer. He will rule America according to his own realities and
Anyway,
constraints.
speaking for the Democrats now, I see there's a reason why we didn't want him back in office. It was all these things that have happened in 3 months. They are the reason why we did not want him back in office. It's not about his ability to win. He was a superstar before he was popular or famous before he became president. So yes, there will be people that support him, but we knew particularly that this particular individual is going to disrupt the entire world if he comes into office. And everything that we said is currently playing out in 3 months. Donald Trump, I do not approve of you, and I don't want to discuss you anymore
Well,
here. It's
our
three
concern is
months.
about the African immigrant and the our home mother country continent
Our
and
brothers and
general.
sisters, right?
Our first
Mhm.
engagement with Donald Trump. In fact, there's also another controversy out there.
What
Recently,
happened?
Somalia was bombed, and General Kirby was saying that the amount of bombs dropped out of one particular aircraft carrier was a world record. When I saw that, I
Wow.
felt hard. I felt saddened for Somalia, that the country I love now, America, is the one doing that to the country of the continent of
So my
Nigeria.
point is, well, it brings me back again to what we're saying. How long are we going to continue having these disruptive events? Every day is one story. Every day is one story, and people don't see, are not reading this handwriting on the wall. So yeah, yeah, we have 2 minutes to go. What are your final thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that I sincerely think that Ramaphosa should save his energy and concentrate among in building South Africa. South Africa should not bother about the ones who want to leave. They have a lot of whites who want to continue to stay.
Correct.
Their
Yeah.
country, the whites have economic power. The blacks are also being empowered. But South Africa
Mhm.
has new friends, a lot of friends. They are integral
Okay.
part of BRICS, and that the countries of BRICS are the ones who are even more relevant to them now. Nobody can do away with
Okay.
America business, and that's why even the Chinese had to negotiate tariff. But nobody also wants American bullying. If you put yourself out there for being bullied, you'll be bullied. I sincerely think that
It's
South
true.
Africa should respect themselves, and they are the biggest economy in Africa. They trade the most. They are the most industrial economy, and they have access to technologies that is mind blowing. If you have visited South Africa as I have visited that country up to 10 times, and You will be wondering whether that's an African country. It's such an advanced country. And when you have
Mm-hmm.
companies like NASPAS and Tiger, you have companies that cut across all spheres of human endeavor. You really don't have much to worry about. American
I hear
market
you.
will not run away. It will always be there. They will always need you. America, they have some of the world's rare earth metals, real important things, platinum, titanium, gold, diamond. America is, and in this age and time, gold is sought after by the whole world. So no, South Africa is a powerful country, and they should respect themselves and know that you can't win. Everybody can be your friend. That's how I want to say it. I just feel that they should
That's okay. It's a
focus on
good
the
thought.
whites
It's a good thought.
that continue to remain in South Africa and are building South
A
Africa.
good thought.
Mm.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. It was great.
Yes.
We have
Before we
a
go,
minute.
thank you for the massive increase in our subscriber base. Subscribe more.
Thank
We need
you.
more.